Galactic medicine had solved death. At least, that's what they believed. Their technology could predict the exact moment a patient would die. Their machines had never been wrong. Then they treated a human. Corporal James Walker suffered injuries that should have killed him instantly. 3 hearts worth of blood loss, collapsed lungs, multiple organ failure. The medical AI declared him deceased. Then James opened one eye and said 6 words that would forever change galactic medicine. Tell those bastards I'm not done. Every monitor in the room flatlined, then started beating again for the next 12 hours. Galactic doctors witnessed something impossible. Human cells were refusing to die. Not because of medicine, not because of technology, but because the patient was extremely offended. The Battle of Veganine ended in less than 6 minutes. Human forces suffered heavy casualties, among them Corporal James Walker. A direct plasma cannon strike had torn through his armor. Medical reports listed his condition as catastrophic. Internal bleeding, 2 punctured lungs, severe neural trauma. Probability of survival, 0.001%. The Galactic Medical Corps transported him to the nearest hospital station. Dr. Zelthar, one of the most respected surgeons in the galaxy, examined the patient. This human is deceased. The body simply hasn't realized it yet, the room quietly agreed. Then James's heart stopped. Medical AI confirmed the result. Patient status? Deceased? Time of death recorded? Case closed? Then James opened his eyes. He looked directly at the nearest doctor. Did we win? The room froze. Dr. Zelthar slowly approached. You are dead, James frowned. That sounds like a tomorrow problem. He immediately lost consciousness again. Medical scanners erupted with warnings. His organs were still failing. His body was still dying, yet his brain refused to shut down. Over the next 3 hours, doctors observed something impossible. Human cells near the wound began repairing themselves at accelerated rates. No drugs, no stimulants. Only one unusual neurological signal. Extreme irritation. Dr. Zelthar stared at the readings. Impossible, the eye responded. Unknown human condition detected. Classification. Spite. The doctor blinked. Spite? The AI paused. Human subject appears to be refusing death out of personal inconvenience. For the first time in galactic history, medicine had encountered something it could not explain. By the 4th hour, the entire Galactic Medical Corps had gathered around James Walker's bed, not because he was dying, because he refused to. Dr. Zelthar enlarged the medical scans. Every known biological process said the same thing. James should have been dead hours ago, yet his body continued fighting. The AI displayed a new report. Human psychological state, irritated. Human emotional state, extremely uncooperative. Probability of patient accepting death, 0%. The room fell silent. One young alien intern cautiously raised a hand. Can humans do this often? Dr. Zelthar slowly turned toward him. We're about to find out. James suddenly opened his eyes again. He immediately attempted to sit up. 3 doctors pushed him back onto the bed. What are you doing? Shouted Dr. Zelthar. James looked genuinely confused. I've got work tomorrow. You are clinically dead. James shrugged. My supervisor is still expecting me at 0800. The medical AI immediately added another entry. Additional human survival factor identified, fear of missing work. The doctors stared at the display. One quietly whispered, humanity is a terrifying species. Over the next 6 hours, the impossible continued. Damaged tissue regenerated, heart function stabilized, brain activity increased, not because James wanted to live, but because he didn't want the enemy to think they had one, finally. James looked toward Dr. Zelthar and asked, be honest. Are they telling people I died? The doctor hesitated. Yes. James slowly sat up. Well, we can't have that. Every monitor in the room suddenly spiked. The AI immediately issued a priority warning. Alert! Patient survival probability has increased by 37%. Reason: subject appears motivated by pettiness. Galactic medicine had discovered a horrifying truth. Humans weren't merely difficult to kill. Sometimes they considered death itself an insult. 12 hours after being declared dead, Corporal James Walker stood up. The entire medical ward froze. Dr. Zelthar stared in complete disbelief. That is physically impossible. James looked down at the bandages covering his chest. Yeah, it certainly feels physically impossible. The medical AI immediately projected his current condition, patient status: multiple organ trauma, severe blood loss, 3 fractured ribs, clinical death recorded, currently walking. The AI paused. Error. This should not be happening. James slowly reached for his boots. What are you doing? Shouted Dr. Zelthar, getting dressed. You cannot leave. James looked genuinely offended. Doctor, I just got shot. I'm not about to let paperwork finish the job. The room fell silent. One alien nurse quietly asked, Is this normal human behavior? Another human medic nearby answered immediately. Oh, absolutely. My grandfather survived a heart attack because he was too stubborn to miss fishing season. The doctors spent the next hour conducting tests. Every scan returned impossible results. James's body wasn't healing efficiently. It was healing aggressively. Cells near the wound were multiplying faster whenever he became annoyed. When asked to remain in bed, his recovery rate increased by 12%. When informed he would need 6 months of rehabilitation, it increased by 23%. And when Dr. Zelthar accidentally said, Perhaps humans are simply fragile, every monitor in the room nearly exploded. Alert: extreme adrenal response detected. Patient has entered state. Personally offended. James slowly turned toward the doctor. Fragile? He took another step forward. I survived military food for 12 years. The AI immediately updated its report. New galactic medical conclusion. Humans possess an undocumented survival mechanism. Designation: unreasonable levels of stubbornness. For the first time in galactic history, an entire medical conference was called, because doctors across the stars needed an answer to one terrifying question. How do you treat a species that refuses to cooperate with death itself? 24 hours after his death, Corporal James Walker became the most studied patient in galactic history. An emergency session of the Galactic Medical Council was immediately convened. Representatives from over 8,000 species attended. The meeting's title appeared above the chamber entrance. Emergency session. Topic: Why won't the human die? Dr. Zelthar stood before the council. Colleagues, I regret to inform you that our understanding of biology is apparently incomplete. A holographic image of James appeared behind him. The room collectively gasped. One alien surgeon raised a hand. Is that the deceased patient? Dr. Zelthar sighed. Technically. He's currently arguing with hospital administration over discharge paperwork. The chamber fell silent. Another doctor spoke. Have we attempted sedation? We did. And? Dr. Zelthar looked embarrassed. He woke up and informed us that naps are for civilians. Several council members quietly began questioning their career choices. The medical AI projected its findings: species, human, unique traits. Excessive determination, irrational optimism, extreme stubbornness, ability to survive purely out of spite. One scientist stood up immediately. Surely the last one is a translation error. The AI paused. Negative. Subject's vital signs improve when informed that others doubt him. The room erupted into chaos. At that exact moment, the conference doors opened. Corporal James Walker entered carrying a cup of coffee. Every doctor in the chamber froze. Dr. Zelthar nearly fainted. You should be in intensive care. James took a sip of coffee. It was boring. He looked around the room. So, Are all of you here because I inconvenienced death? For the first time in galactic history, an entire council of doctors realized humanity's greatest survival mechanism wasn't biological. It was pure attitude. Within 48 hours, Corporal James Walker had become mandatory reading in every medical school in the galaxy. Entire textbooks were being rewritten. One chapter now carried a simple title: Humans, we have absolutely no idea. The Galactic Medical Council continued its investigation. Dr. Zelthar stood before a massive holographic display. We have reached a conclusion. The chamber became silent. Human biology does not operate according to reason. Thousands of doctors nodded in agreement. James sat in the back row eating a sandwich. To be fair, we've been saying that for centuries. The AI immediately updated its report. Human survival factors: medical treatment, 14%. Biological resilience, 22%. Emotional attachment, 11%. Pure stubbornness, 53%. The room erupted into panic. 53%? Shouted one surgeon. That's not scientifically possible. The AI paused. Neither is the patient. To verify their findings, the doctors conducted one final experiment. Dr. Zelthar approached James carefully. Corporal Walker, what if I told you that your commanding officer said another soldier recovered faster than you? James slowly lowered his sandwich. What? His heartbeat immediately increased. Cellular activity spiked by 18%. Tissue regeneration accelerated. The AI issued an alert. Warning. Patient has entered competitive human state. James stood up. Oh, absolutely not. No one recovers faster than me. Dr. Zelthar stared at the monitors in horror. He is literally healing out of competitiveness. The AI responded immediately. Correction, subject is healing out of spite. At that moment, the Galactic Medical Council officially added a new medical diagnosis to its database: human condition number 001. Too angry to die, and somewhere, death itself quietly updated its records. Under humanity, it simply wrote, "Do not argue with these people." 3 days later, things somehow became worse. Not for James Walker, for everyone else. The Galactic Medical Network began receiving reports from across known space. A human miner survived being trapped beneath a collapsed tunnel for 11 days. A human grandmother reportedly survived 2 separate lightning strikes and was mostly angry about missing her favorite television program. One human mechanic woke up during surgery, not because of pain, but because the doctors were taking too long. The Galactic Medical Council immediately declared a Level 1 biological emergency. Dr. Zelthar addressed the assembly. We have reached a disturbing conclusion. Humanity appears to treat mortality as a negotiation. The room quietly agreed. Then something impossible happened. Every screen in the chamber simultaneously activated. A hooded figure appeared. Its form shifted between darkness and starlight. The room became silent. Even the medical AI paused. Dr. Zelthar slowly stood. Who are you? The figure sighed, a very tired sigh. I am what your species refers to as death. Complete silence. Death looked exhausted. I would like to file a formal complaint. A glowing document appeared. Its title read, Official Complaint, Subject, Humanity. Dr. Zelthar blinked. You're filing paperwork? Death nodded. For thousands of years. I arrived to collect a human, and they keep saying things like, not today, give me 5 minutes. I didn't hear no bell. My wife will kill me if I'm late. James Walker slowly raised his hand. To be fair, my wife absolutely would. Death pointed directly at him. You. I've had you scheduled 3 times this week. James looked genuinely surprised. Oh, sorry about that. For the first time in galactic history, the universe learned an uncomfortable truth. Humanity wasn't surviving despite death. Humanity had simply been ignoring its calls. 1 week later, Death returned, not with a scythe, with a clipboard. The Galactic Medical Council immediately evacuated the chamber. No one wanted to be present for whatever happened next. Death looked exhausted, not physically, existentially. It slowly placed a massive document onto the table. Its title read, Notice of Resignation, Position, Human Reaper. James Walker nearly choked on his coffee. You're quitting? Death nodded. I can no longer perform my duties. Dr. Zelthar cautiously raised a hand. May I ask why? Death opened the document. For the last 10,000 years, I have attempted to maintain an orderly collection schedule. A holographic timeline appeared. Human number 44,821. I'll die after my daughter's wedding. Human number 77,452. I promised my dog I'd come home. Human number 99,110. I still owe my brother $20. Human number 126,001. I refuse to die before seeing season 12. The room fell silent. James slowly nodded. Those all sound reasonable, Death pointed angrily at the list. Nitrogen monoxide, they don't. The cosmic entity continued. Every other species accepts mortality. Humans negotiate, they bargain, they argue. One human successfully delayed me for 17 years. Because he claimed he was in the middle of renovating his kitchen, Dr. Zelthar quietly asked. And was he? Death sighed. Yes. Then the AI displayed a shocking statistic. Average human response to death. This seems inconvenient. The room erupted into laughter. Death did not laugh. I have therefore reached a decision. It held up a new document. Humanity status. Unscheduled. James smiled. So, you're just going to let us do whatever we want? Death stared at him for several seconds. Then quietly replied, honestly, it appears that's what you've been doing anyway. For the first time in cosmic history, Death officially stopped scheduling humans. Years passed. The official galactic database still listed humanity under a single classification, status, unscheduled. Medical schools taught courses on human stubbornness. Alien children laughed at stories of humans arguing with death. And somewhere, death quietly continued its work, except whenever the assignment involved humans, it always took a little longer. One evening, death arrived beside an elderly human sitting on the porch of a small house on Earth. The old man looked up. "Oh, it's you," Death nodded. "It's me." The old man smiled. "Took you long enough." Death quietly sat beside him. For several minutes, neither spoke. Finally, Death asked the question it had wondered for thousands of years. Why do humans fight so hard to stay? The old man looked toward the sunset. Because life is interesting. There are people to love, places to see, stories to finish. And sometimes we're just curious about tomorrow. Death remained silent. The old man chuckled. You know, we're not afraid of you. I know. We're afraid of leaving things unfinished. For the first time in eternity, Death understood. Humans didn't refuse to die because they hated death. They refused because they loved life. Death slowly stood. It's time, the old man nodded. I know, then he smiled. But I have one question. Death sighed. Of course you do. Is my wife waiting for me? For the first time since the birth of the universe, Death smiled. She's been complaining about how long you've kept her waiting. The old man laughed. Sounds like her. Together, they walked toward the stars. And from that day forward, whenever Death was asked about humanity, it always gave the same answer. They are my favorite species. Not because they refuse to follow me, but because they remind the universe why life is worth living in the first place. Humanity's greatest strength was never its power or its technology. It was the simple belief that tomorrow is always worth seeing. If you enjoyed this HFY story, subscribe to Irongeist HFY, leave a like, and tell us in the comments, what would make you tell Death, not today, until next time. Keep living like tomorrow matters.